Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Live Reality Games podcast. My name is Josh, and today I am joined with John. Hello, John. How are we?
Hey, Josh. Good. Really good. Excited about the finale of Backyard Survivor.
Yeah, it's only next week. Not even next week. Maybe 5-6 days away now. So it's getting really close. We'll finally see who wins. I'm very excited. We are recapping episode 11 today. So off that double tribal. For people that don't know you, John, did you want to introduce yourself to the
Yeah.
public?
Yeah. I'm a friend of Matt Ching, so he's actually the guy who got me into kind of Backyard Survivor and all the other sort of LRGs. So I kind of interestingly, I caught up with him like the day after he came back from Backyard because I had won lottery tickets to Frozen the musical, and then he kind of spilled that he had been last minute cast into Backyard. So kind of after that, I went back and binge watched Backyards 1, 2, and 3 in a week.
So you're the only person that was told.
Yeah, because I can keep a secret, Josh.
Hey, give me a secret. I'll keep it. No. But that's cool though. That's cool. So yeah, we will be speaking to Matt later tonight. Unfortunately, he went home in 7th, which is a very popular sort of spot for big names to leave, actually. Which is it definitely changes the game, that spot.
Yeah.
He did let it slip. He did let it slip. Yeah. But John didn't let it slip. That's
the payment actually was because that same day I told him to idle you out.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah.
So, that was my payment.
Yeah, I did get idled out from Matt. Yeah, it is what it is. But I did have the votes, which is exciting. So let's talk about the episode. Let's talk about what happened. Obviously, at the end of the last episode, we did have a rock draw, which seen Michael leave the game. I want to hear your thoughts about going to rock today, because it's that time in the game where it's make or break. I personally don't agree with it, but what do you think?
So I think you can never really have any absolute rules to whether you should go to rocks or not. I think it's very situation dependent, and also sort of dependent on each person. So the rock draw is obviously good for some people and not for others. So I think in a season like this where it's very much like OG tribes, and it's very much like 4-4 at the final 8, OG yellow versus OG red, and it's not as fluid. I think you kind of, for a lot of people, it's in their interest to go to rocks. So I think overall, it's a decision that makes sense. I do think though that OG red could have played it a bit differently, because I guess going into it, they're already the odds were already against them because Kiara had immunity, right? So really, if they went to rocks, only 2 yellows would be drawing, whereas 3 reds would be drawing. And I'm a bit confused about what happened, because it sounded like they were trying to get Sal to flip over to them to not go to rocks. So I'm a bit confused about why then that they targeted Sal. Because in that case, Sal's not going to flip over, because Sal flipping means he goes home because the vote's on him. And I kind of wonder whether the better target for OG Red would have been to vote for Val, because I see Sal as someone who's probably less, true blue loyal to OG Yellow, and is more playing a self-interested game. And we've already seen Sal being willing to flip at the merge and vote for Val. So I kind of think if they had targeted Val, what are the chances that Sal goes to rocks for someone like Val? Especially because he already has an idol, he's in a good position. Does Sal risk his game for Val? Maybe not, but he's definitely not flipping his vote if you're voting for him.
No. Oh, definitely not. Like, and that's what I sort of said last week. I think Val was definitely the right choice, and as well because they've already voted her out
Yeah,
before, so it's not going to do any harm by voting her out again.
yeah.
You know,
And but
yeah,
like I think Red did need to go to Rocks because as we saw what happened this week, these get picked off anyway. So they definitely did need to go Rocks because it wasn't that kind of fluid game where people are willing to flip back and forth. Where like because if it was a more fluid game, you might say I'll flip just to get through this round and maybe something will happen. But I think Red did need to go Rocks. I just think the target was the wrong target.
yeah, yeah. I sort of agree. I think, yeah, I feel like if they were to go for Val, we would have got potentially like Sal to flip. Because I could have seen that happening.
Yeah, and he has an idol, so he's probably not that afraid of flipping
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Because he
And if
could
he
use the
flips,
idol. Yeah.
use the idol to save himself, then there's another rock draw at 6 potentially. Like there's still ways around it. Yeah, I think everybody agrees on voting out Sal was the wrong idea.
I love you, OG Red.
Yeah, the 4 OG Red, they're amazing. Their dynamic has been crazy to watch throughout this season because we get them 4 have been together since the 3rd episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way up until the last episode. But now we see a couple more Red go, which was sort of predicted. Did you expect them to go in this order?
Yeah, because I think like it was already set up that in the what's it called touchy subjects that Matt was already seen as like the strategic / social threat, and then him winning 2 immunities probably also didn't help lower his threat level. So I think someone like Matt, especially because like I guess you got to play to your archetype, and someone like Matt looks like physically threatening, even like if he wasn't winning challenges. So the fact that he's doing really well pre-merge and then winning 2 immunities, like I think it really raises his threat level. So I think a lot of them are thinking, if we don't get Matt up now, he might immunity to the end, so he has to go first. And then between Rachel and Josh, I mean, I know Josh won immunity anyway, so Rachel was the only option.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder whether, I guess, like she was probably like the Yellows were perceiving her to be the biggest threat. Like we'll see. We'll talk about. We'll see when we talk about tribals. But she's obviously very, very articulate. Makes a very good argument using her lawyer / journalism student skills there. So I think she's someone you probably wouldn't want to go up against at Final Tribal Council because 1, she's got the underdog story. 2, all her friends are on the jury and they probably don't want to see Yellow win. So, and the fact that you add someone who's really articulate, it can be very persuasive. Like you don't want that combination at Final Tribal Council. So, I think Yellow made the right move in going for Matt and then Rachel.
Yeah, I agree too. Let's talk about So we get to the first challenge. We actually don't get much of story here, other than straight to the challenge. When we go to the math challenge.
Yeah. Although I think we do. There was a little bit of like post-tribal sort of like thoughts and setting up for Endgame.
Oh no, that's true. Yeah, no, yeah, we do actually. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember now. Yeah, we do actually get a slight little bit.
And I know Tiara isn't here, so I'll like do a bit of edging for her. But it was interesting that like they opened up with Matt saying, "Oh, he was kind of surprised it went to Rocks," and then immediately after, they give Joe talking, and then Joe's like, "Yeah, and you'll be a 50-50 split," which I think is kind of interesting to give her some like awareness credit there. But I think even more interestingly, you get Joe talking about Kiara, so like they're all saying like, "Oh, I really trust Kiara. She's the most genuine. I really want to see her win. I'd be super happy. She's the biggest threat, but I don't know if anyone has it in them to get rid of her." So like, I thought that was an interesting decision to include that confessional in there because I think the edit's definitely painting Kiara is the one to beat. So they either get rid of her or she wins, and they're basically I think the only 2 options.
Yeah, exactly. So you see Joe, like the way she like talks about the game now, it's like she just came out of nowhere. Like I wasn't expecting her to have all this knowledge, and it's good to see. It's good to see that she's picking it up as she goes along. I just feel like it might be too late.
Yeah.
I think people have already made their assumptions about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like credit to the host. I mean, the reason why touchy subjects is, there is to like, I guess, maybe get people to open up their eyes and maybe think about how others are perceiving them in the game.
Yeah.
But maybe Final 8 was a bit too late for someone like Joe to differentiate herself from her alliance.
Yeah. I hope she can look, I reckon we'll see her at the final tribal. I hope that she can differentiate herself from Kiara, because if she can't, I don't think she has much of a winning story.
Yeah.
I
think she has game awareness, but I don't know if she's acting on that game awareness to make the moves she needs to make.
Yeah. Well, she does say some quite interesting stuff at a tribal council further down the track that we'll discuss a bit later. But yeah, we get to the math challenge. With this, I really want to know if they've used, I think it's BODMAS. I could be wrong. BEDMAS, whatever. However you do math, I think it's. I hope that they used it the right math, not just left to right, because
I think they did.
I hope they did. See, every state is different. There's BODMAS. Every state is different.
I think maths is just maths all over the world, Josh.
Yeah, no, but every state has they call it different. Like I've heard BEDMAS, I've heard BODMAS, I've heard BIMDAS, like different ways of pronouncing it. And I'm like, how you go, like brackets in this. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. How would you go? Do you reckon at this challenge if you were to play it?
I mean, I guess I have like the Asian points like advantage, so I feel like maths would be okay for me. I actually really like this challenge. Like, I think a lot of the pre-merge challenges were really fun and dynamic, and then all the merge ones were mostly standing still in one spot. Like, you had the bouncy one, you had the sword with the coins, you had the balancing on the thing, and then you had the popping the balloons. So I think it was really fun to see a challenge that was more dynamic. They're running around. Yeah, maybe not real Asians. But yeah, so I really like the challenge. I think it gives like people with a different skill set a chance to win. So like Kiara probably isn't winning physical challenges, but now she's won back to back because there's just been different challenges. The one thing I thought would have been cool is instead of just like them putting the hand up and then Kyle coming around to Kyle coming around to like check the thing. I thought it'd be really cool if they had like a chest, and then they locked the immunity necklace in the chest, and they put like a 3-digit
code,
number lock, and you had to go there, do the number lock, and if you didn't get it, you have to go to the back where then someone else could unlock it and get the immunity necklace.
I reckon if that was the case, I reckon Josh, even with a sore leg, possibly would have outrun Kiara to that situation. So maybe we might have had a different winner. That would have been cool. I like having these elements in the game. Like you've sort of seen this in the American Survivor, where they have to like go around and count everything and then put the number in. And then there's like you said, like a lock, and then it has like reveals a flag usually.
Yeah, something.
Or they have to like get a pole out and smash a tile, or something cool. I wish there was just like a little bit more visual. But, more visual stuff. Yeah. But like you said, all the challenges in the merge have literally been standing there.
Which is very US Survivor, so it's a tribute to US Survivor.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. I'd like seeing people being frantic. I like it. That's why I like this challenge. I think it actually had a lot of different meaning. Plus, it also like allowed people that aren't just physical to win something as well, which is really good. It does stuff. Does really screw over people like Matt, who is more physical. But Survivor, you can't really choose what happens.
You're a bit of better Asian, Matt. Yeah. Speaking of Josh's leg, just for when Tara does her edging, I'm just wanted to note that Josh's leg got a lot of airtime in the challenge, a lot of close-ups of his leg and him stumbling. And for Brian, he was like shown not only to be like not paying attention, but like Kyle subtitled that, like that him being really surprised how Josh was close. So Yeah. Just wanted to put that out there.
Sorry, Matt. Yeah. So we see Kiara win her second challenge in a row. Absolute beast now. Has won the most amount of challenges. Yeah, so far.
Yeah. If you include the pre-merge ones, she has.
Yeah, if you include the pre-merge ones, yeah. She has been immune more than anybody else this game. Plus has not been her name has not been written down yet.
Yeah. And like even in the
at any point.
Yeah, even in the what's it called? Touchy subjects one where they had to pop the balloons. Like I think the edit makes a really big point of showing that like everyone targeted everyone else and no one targeted her, even when it got down to like low numbers and it was in your interest to target her, everyone still doesn't target Kiara. So like that just shows how powerful her social game is. Like I can't believe how good it is that like she's running this game this entire way, like and like no one is even looking at her.
And it's just bizarre because like I'm just trying to understand why nobody has. Like, are people just not wanting to vote her out because she's been out before? Like, is that in the back of people's minds? Or now they shouldn't be caring? Like,
if anything, like I think that would make me want to vote her out more because now she has an amazing story to tell. Like to go from first boot, you know, the season's called Redemption. Like, what better redemption can you get to go back and win? Like I think that makes her more dangerous. I think she's just like I think the way she connects with people, like it's so like underhanded, or not like no, underhanded like kind of sounds like like a negative. Like no, she's just so genuine and like even when I think when you go back to the merge when like Val comes back and it's like, oh, why did you vote for me? Like I think that's how like she won this game. Like she like Val had every reason to flip as you know the person unanimously voted out by her tribe. There was no like you know. It was 6-6, and it made sense that Val would flip to red and blue, and they would have the majority. And it was Kiara like making Val feel comfortable, keeping her like really locked in. Like even I think we're getting ahead of ourselves in the next episode. Like Val doesn't like wants to target Joe. She doesn't even go for Kiara. Like
yeah, I know. Like
I think that Kiara just did such a good job of making people like Val feel safe that you know they never target her. Even when you look at like actually, I think if you go back to Yellow really won it at the swap when you know they basically got control of both tribes because I think Red just felt like they could work with Yellow in the merge. So like Matt and Michael thought, all right, that like Kiara is really you know genuine. I think I can work with her. And then obviously Rachel and Josh thought you know Matt B and Abby, you know we could work with them. And you know I guess without realizing how tight OG Yellow was. So I think it's just like her like effortless ability to, you know, make people think that she's really with them. So that they think, you know, why would I vote out Kiara? Like she's an ally I can use, and then they get voted out by Kiara.
Matt B has a lot of should take a lot of credit for how far Kiara has gotten.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. So I feel like if we didn't get Matt B being close with Rachel, that we wouldn't have even had that chance of Matt B or even Rachel and Josh making it to the merge. So without Matt B, I really don't think Kiara would be in such a dominant spot that what she's in.
Yeah, I think Yellow just played amazingly at the swap, and that really set them up just to run the game. And like, I think you know I think obviously the others we realize a bit too little, too late, but you know, Yellow just played really well. Yeah. Can't fault them.
Yeah, you really can't fault them. Speaking of playing really well, we get to the next tribal council. And I'm surprised that they still stick together here. I really expected somebody to flip. But like what Kiara has been saying, she's like, well, why would I flip? It doesn't make any sense. And one time, like I never really agree with this, but I actually now agree with her. I actually think it's the right move is to stay with her original tribe.
Oh,
because she's on the top of them. I just really, as a viewer, like I know that they talk about sorry viewers, it's not going to be that fun. But as a viewer, I really wanted to see like something change. But I can fully understand where they're coming from with not flipping
Yeah. I mean, I think
and making that.
what Kiara says, the biggest moves aren't the best moves; they're just big, and I think like that really like, regardless of like whether she was like obviously she was on top and like that, philosophy suits her, but I think like in general, it's true. It's true. It was a hard tribal because I think like I don't think there's anything Matt could have really done this episode to save himself. Like I think like he I mean the only thing he could have done is either win the challenge or find an idol, and he tried at both.
Yeah.
Although I do kind of find it funny the juxtaposition between like Sal's like idol hunt last episode where he was like running around like a maniac, just like really chaotic and frantic. And then like Matt's just like running really slowly. He's walking at times. He's like apologizing to Calvin for making him like run too because it's so hot. And I was like, I think Matt's just too genuine and nice for this game.
Needs to be a little bit cutthroat. Who cares if the cameras can't catch you? Like I understand you might want to see the idol find, but reenact it. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, and I think he obviously tried at the tribal. Like I think I agreed with his approach, and like he had the right idea, which was to expose the like inner hierarchy of the yellows and make them think like end game. What's going to happen, but I don't think he pulled off the execution. Because like, and I'm not actually quite sure what angle he was going at. Because like, I think he wanted what he wanted to say was, Sal's going to win final immunity challenge at Final Four and then vote for one of the girls. But I think like Sal just really dominated him at this trial. He just immediately said, "I won 0, Kiara's won 2, Val's won 4," and I think like like I think it was just like really easy for him to shut down. And I mean, I almost wonder if the better angle would have been to say, the girls are like a tight final 3. They're going to go to the end with each other, and they're going to knock you out at Final 4. And maybe you need to take out one of them now, because like otherwise. Like, I mean, Sal's in a really good spot. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's obviously in the Final 5. He's on an idol. They'll kick him to Final 4. But he's probably needing to win the Final Immunity Challenge, which gets, to be fair, he has a really, really good shot at, given how close he's been at a lot of challenges. But I wonder if the better angle would have been, you're going to need to win Final Immunity. Like, if you're going down this route,
exactly.
You're basically betting, all your eggs in the I'm going to win Final Immunity Challenge. Otherwise, I'm going home. And because the girls are, I think early in the episode, like you get to hear from Kiara too, saying she plans on taking Val and Joe to the end. And like it sounds like, like I mean, whether Sal is higher or lower than Val in Joe's eyes, it's hard. It's
it's hard
to say, but definitely Kiara doesn't plan on going to the end with Michael. With Sal. So that might have been the better angle, which
I don't agree with. Like, I think obviously she doesn't know how much Sal's lied to everyone. She doesn't know that. However, like looking at the game, if somebody's returned to the game, and they've come through 4 immunity wins to come back into the game and then make it to the end, they're gonna have a lot more sway of the votes, considering you've all played together the whole game. Like Joe, Sal, and Kiara have been on the same tribe through the whole game, and they've pretty much voted the same the whole way as well. Kiara has some immunity wins over him. Like that's in my head, I would be thinking, okay, we have a very similar storyline. Maybe I need to cut one of these people, so we don't. But then looking at Val's too strong. So do you take a red? And maybe that's what might eventually happen at this Final 5. Maybe she might take Josh.
I don't think you can. Like, I think, like, and then Kiara said it. Like, Kiara's like, I can't take a red to the end. Because if you just look at the jury right now, like, apart from Matt and Abby going out in that, like, unlucky split thing, the entire jury is blue and red. And then, they all voted together at thinking. Like, I think, like, if it's Final 3, was it 9 jurors? nine endurers. Like
Yeah.
you only need 5 votes to win, maybe 4 if it's like a plurality vote.
Yeah.
Like when you think about what the jury looks like, I just don't think you like say if Josh was allowed to make it to the end, he like definitely has you know, Rachel, probably Michael and Matt, or the Matt might, but Kiara, and then you know, probably the Blues too, who like, you know, like he's got a great underdog, especially like Josh like has actually probably like one of the best underdog stories to tell at the end. Like, you know, at least the edit, like, you know, like didn't Blue think he would go first because of
They
like
did, yeah.
how he performed at the balance beam challenge? So
Yeah.
for the fact that he's survived all this way, he's the last red, like you would not want to sit next to him at the end. Like he would just have such a great story.
Yeah, but let's talk about Edgic though, because like Edgic has a big like from this point of view, you're talking about all these like underdog storylines, all of these could have eventually gone first type storylines as well. That in Edgic, he would be the winner, like based on them factors. But then we also got Kiara still there as well. So I don't know. I just think it'd be fitting for the end of the season with a Josh win, but no,
because he'd be really. I think like from a storyline perspective, I think either him or Kiara have the best like stories to tell if they win. But I think everyone knows that. That's why they don't want to sit next to Josh at the end.
Yeah, that's true. Well, who knows? He could win a couple more. If he needs 2 legs, he probably can't.
Yeah.
So this tribal council. Yep.
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, so this tribal council, we see Marty go home in 7th. We can't. He couldn't have done anything after his spiel at tribal council. There's not much else he could have done.
And I think like I think every time he made a point, Sal just like was basically like sit down, like because I think he like there was a point when he like criticized Sal for playing an idol on himself and saying it was a wasted immunity, and I wasn't quite sure what the idea behind that was, or whether Matt just wasn't aware of how the votes actually went, because it sounded like he didn't realize Matt B had voted Sal with them, and so. Yeah, like Sal just like if I play the idol on like Matt, then I go home. Like I think I think, and as soon as he said that, Matt's like, oh, okay. I think like as soon as like because like Sal just kept contradicting him like again and again and again, and I think it like diminishes Matt's agency at the tribal because it sounds like, you know, like I think it's just like really hard to refute what Sal's saying, and I think that kind of limited his argument. And I think that's when like Rachel like really stepped in there for him.
So
speaking of, sorry, one more thing I wanted to add was because you said with the Edgic with Josh. One thing I kind of noted like just before tribal, Rachel is like Josh is kind of like undermined a bit. He kind of says, "Oh, you know, within my Reds, my closest ally is Rachel. I feel I can truly trust Rachel." And like the very next scene, Rachel's like throwing him under the bus to Yellow to say her actual number one. And like I think I really enjoyed like throughout this entire season, I really enjoyed like the subtle undermining of like everyone by Carl and Brian. Like I think there was that scene when like Josh tells like Sal, "Oh, I want to vote up all the yellows," and the Sal's just like,
it was actually really smart by Rachel, because she was setting up the next vote as well. If that didn't go to plan, if Josh didn't go, then he's going to go the next vote. He won immunity, which really screwed her over, because she would have been in it if it was Rachel and Josh left. Rachel staying for sure, which sucks for Rachel, but you know, it's a game. So we go straight to the next challenge, pretty much after tribal. I wasn't expecting a double tribal. It wasn't announced anyway, so I was very confused.
Oh, no, it wasn't a double tribal though. I think it was just like 2.
Oh, it was like a double episode.
But I think they were just both short episodes because it was like straightforward who would go home. So they just thought we can't fill out an hour, so let's put them both together. Which I think was a good way of doing it because it's the same story.
Yeah. So this challenge is, how did they make this challenge? Who's making that challenge?
Oh, like I'm so impressed by. I mean, I'm always impressed by Backyard's challenges, like production value, like. Like I think it was really fun, and it was like obviously playing,
It's all color coded. It was amazing. I was
yeah,
loving it. I
yeah,
was feeling
yeah.
like, yeah, I was feeling like the real thing.
The last cube being stuck to the thing, and then obviously it was very identical to how it was in US Survivor. Like I really loved it, and I think it's like a great challenge because once again it's dynamic rather than standing one spot, and then you kind of have that constant tension of like, will they drop, will they not drop? Like I think was it like Sal who like had like one left and dropped it, and then and then at the end, like you have like Josh with heroic music and Sal's just like throwing the blonde down. It's a great for like a tension building.
They were too. I forgot that. I forgot that they were using that season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tori did win this in 42 actually. Good job on the painting, Amy.
Always top notch, Amy.
Yeah. Unless Ben paints, because Ben's not really a good painter. We've discovered this over the season.
And I think the other thing that's really cool about this challenge was I think it was the first time, or actually other than Michael, where like the person who was like obviously like in danger like win the challenge. I think it's always like so much more interesting when it's like you won the challenge because you really needed to, because you were in like danger of going home. And like I think like there are always challenges you can like really get behind because like you're really willing Josh to win.
To win, yeah, exactly, yeah. I think it would have been interesting though if it was like a Sal win or a Kiara win or a Joe win or something, just to see the dynamics of like who would throw who under the bus, or or if like maybe Val would actually flip over and potentially do a 3-3 vote.
Yeah. I mean, potentially, right? Like if they both weren't, if there were both options, maybe Yellow goes, we'll split 2-2 and like do a 2-2-2. Just in case one of them has an idol, because like I guess they haven't shown it in the edit, but Sal did play an idol, so there's a chance that it gets rehidden.
Yeah, of course.
So if like you have the numbers, maybe they think, oh, the safest thing to do is to split, but then that then gives Val a chance to flip, and make a 3-2-1 on it. Yeah, like it could.
Do you think it would have been? Do you think it would have been better to lose the challenge? Like
for who? For who?
For both red, just to sort of throw like to potentially maybe force the 3-2-1, like big brainer,
Yeah. Although I don't think Yellow would have split once Val went on the reward, because then they're probably worried.
Well, this would have changed the reward people. Like, they probably would have taken 3 yellows.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. They were just taking each
away. Yeah, exactly. And then it would have been left.
Then they had to put someone on the bottom, and then that person on the bottom of Yellow then knows like
exactly. But like, say if Joe won, Joe wouldn't have thought about that. She just would have taken probably Val and or Sal and Kiara just for lunch, not thinking, and then they could have. And that would have been amazing to watch.
So the plot with Val saying, "See, you're on the bottom. They hate you."
Yeah.
I mean, awesome. I love, like, I really, really love the decision to have the reward here. Like, I think that's always the more, like, I think anytime you can give players decisions, it makes, and give them agency to make decisions rather than just drawing like a random rock, which is very luck based. Like, I think like that's a great way. I mean, one, it splits the tribe up into like 2 smaller groups. It reveals like hierarchies within alliances. So like I like, it makes the vote so much more interesting, because if that didn't exist, we'd probably think, oh yeah, Rachel's going home. There's like no chance.
Yeah. It would have. That's why I think like in like future seasons, even like any season, that if you can split up tribes, I think it just creates so much more dynamic in tribal councils, and tribal councils become hard to read, and you have no idea who's going home. Like, from a playing point, scary, but from a viewing point, amazing.
Yeah, but I think I like it better when they have choice, because I think like Matt B and Abby got really unlucky in that, like, if the split had been any other way, like if the 6 yellows had been split 3-3, they had majority on both tribes, they vote up 2 reds. Like, I think they just got really unlucky with the rock draws, and obviously like Michael won immunity, Sal found an idol. So like, I think like when they have a choice, like and they split the tribe, at least like it's not just luck based, it's like, you know, your social positioning makes a difference in, you know, which tribe you end up on.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. At this reward challenge, at this reward though, I don't understand how Josh got Val up to go talk to her 2 meters away from the table.
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm so confused. Like, what's he going to say? Oh, we're going to vote out Rachel. Like, is that like that's clearly what's going to happen? But we see Rachel just rummaging through the food, searching the table.
This was my favorite scene, I think, of the whole season so far. It was just like so hilarious, and I think it was just like a really like great like kind of. I mean, one was funny, but it was like kind of like a character, like having like iconic character moments for Josh and Rachel. Because actually, like, take a step back. Do you think Josh made the right decision in who he chose to take to the reward?
No.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it at all. I would split Rachel. I'd split Rachel off. I would take 2 people that I think are potentially on the bottom of the 3, or I'll take the 2 top people, or either. And then talk to them.
Yeah.
About
I agree.
Making a final 3 deal with them 2 people. Because if you're taking somebody that's already in your alliance, I don't think it looks good to the rest of the people. But if you take 2 other people, you can potentially make a final 3 deal with them. If I win an immunity challenge, I'll make sure that you looked after, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I vote with you. Because at the final 4, you guys are going to have to play against each other. Do you both want to make it? I'm that option for you. Otherwise, one of you 2 probably going to go home. So I don't agree with who Josh took here.
Yeah. And I think obviously, like, you know, players aren't robots or sometimes they make emotional decisions, and, you know, Josh and Rachel have literally played this entire game together. So I understand why he made it, but I think from a strategic point of view, in the position they were in the game, it was the wrong move. I mean, in general, I think you don't want to take your number 1 ally, because if you 100% trust your ally, you actually want them back at camp, right? Because they can have their eyes on what's happening. Because you don't have to worry about the vote. And like, obviously, Josh has got immunity. If like Rachel's obviously going to vote whichever way Josh wants, because otherwise she goes home. So as you said, you want the 2 yellows you think are most likely to flip. So I think choosing Val, definitely a great decision.
Correct.
And then like, you know, the other person, whether it be Kiara because she's got power, or whether it be Sal because he could be cut at final 4. Like, I think it's final 6, right? You need a majority of 4, so you need 2 yellows to flip over. It wasn't really like they were mainly going for Val, but it wasn't really like enough for Val to flip, because even if Val flips and it's 3-3, then Rachel and I don't know Joe are immune. So then like Val's the only one of that 3 drawing rocks, because Josh is also immune. Like, it makes no sense for Val to go rocks.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
By herself, essentially, to eliminate another, like, and it wouldn't even be like her eliminating Joe. She'd be like eliminating Kiara.
Kiara, exactly, and that's it's not going to happen the way she wants it.
She feels close to. So like it makes like like having flipping Val alone wouldn't have been enough. So I think Josh needed to take 2 yellows. Having said that, because of like his decision to take Rachel, we got that scene, so I'm kind of happy about it.
The only way I think Val would have agreed with it is if they voted Kiara.
Yeah. No.
And then make Kiara safe via tiebreaker.
Yeah. But I think
so then Joe could have drawn the rock, but
yeah. I mean, the other thing they were thinking of is, I guess, like, it sounded like they thought there would be an advantage at the reward. But even then, I think Josh is already there, right? So Josh can look for it, and then have Rachel back at camp to try to find the idol that got maybe or maybe not got rehidden after Sal played it. So you can like look at like for advantages at both places. Whereas if you put them both on one spot, then you can't find any potential idol.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I don't like about if you can't get to a certain location by yourself putting yourself out there,
Mm.
I don't like advantages. It was like last season how they had Exile,
Mm.
where you had to be chosen from the other team, and that was
Yeah.
the only place that was really like besides an idol camp, everything else was at this this location, right? But that's what I don't agree with because nobody else can get there unless you're chosen.
No, but like I think it's fair enough because I think that's part of like I think it's different from like Exile because like if you get to because I mean this is part of like a staple of Survivor, right? There's usually often a clue or an advantage at the reward. I mean,
Yeah.
one you have to win immunity or be chosen, like have enough social credit to be chosen. So I don't think it's that bad. I think it's different from Exile because I feel like Exile is like you get sent to Exile because you're in a bad spot in the game and people think you're going to be voted
Yeah.
out and you need help. And I think that then you're rewarding people for playing poorly. Whereas in a reward, you're getting chosen because of something, good that you've done. So like, I feel like,
I guess so, but like you still don't have the option of going there, right? If say for example, if you're in a majority alliance and you just keep picking your majority alliance to keep going to these rewards where there
Mm.
potentially is the only idols or stuff there or challenges like any advantages, then you're constantly going to get them, and then the people on the bottom don't even have a chance. So it's
yeah.
like vice versa, sort of.
But,
Like
but I
there's
think the
got to
other
know
thing,
balance,
yeah.
and I don't
But
know
the
how
thing
to balance it.
but they don't. Well, one, they didn't hide a thing at the rewards. I think we're kind
Yeah,
of like,
that's good. That's
yeah,
good. That's
yeah,
what that's what I like.
and they have been hiding it at the well, which is accessible to everyone. So
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah.
I
That's
think
why I was. Yeah,
it's been really fairly done this season with the advantages. I think.
yeah. That's what I was about to say. Yeah, the advantages have been great this season. They've been available for everyone. Besides at the tribal with the extra vote, that was weird. I'm assuming the extra vote with Michael, how the extra vote was on the bottom of the parchment papers. Um,
Was it?
It was like the advantage that he could like not vote next time and get an extra vote. It was like a saver vote
But I
advantage.
think, I mean, I guess the backup people have to confirm. Wasn't that the advantage that they tried to hide at the charades challenge? That they tried
I'm
to make
assuming
more
it
and
was.
more obvious every time, and no one got it. So I feel like everyone did have a chance to get it. They just didn't. Like, so
Yeah,
I don't like blame them for hiding it at tribal because it's like everyone had a shot. Like, and it was really obvious.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think all the advantages this season were quite fairly hidden. I think.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that. So we get to after this challenge. There's a bit of talking. It does look like it's going to be Rachel. However, they do talk to Sal. Val talks to Sal about potentially voting out Joe. Do you think this is going to hurt her later on because she has had that conversation, or Sal as a game player would just understand that she had to throw a name out at this reward challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is hugely consequential right now. I mean, maybe. It does give Sal like a way to weaponize against her. And oh yeah, I mean, it is another. I mean, I guess like if you get to Final Four and Sal doesn't win immunity, like say like Kiara wins immunity or something, then I guess maybe Sal could tell Joe, oh, like Kiara. I mean, Val was trying to get you out at Final Six. We should put her out now, like, and play to that emotional side of it, and keep me. I've been loyal. But otherwise, like, I mean, like, what I'm really worried right now is I'm worried, like, if Josh wins immunity next round, Sal plays his idol, and then could Kiara go at Final Five, or if Sal wins immunity at Final Four, does Kiara go? So,
I actually had Kiara as my fifth place, and had Matt at 7. So I've been sort of okay near the end here. I hope that doesn't happen because, to be honest, I think Kiara winning this game would be amazing. It'd make the season like it'd be full circle. It'd be really good to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would potentially be the next. Like, if Josh isn't throwing out Kiara's name at the next tribal council, I don't think he has a chance to stay. I think the only way, yeah.
Or he wins immunity.
Yeah, or he wins immunity, which then forces Joe. Well, probably Joe would go because Val's happy with Joe. But yeah, I'm just surprised nobody is.
No, because I think like Sal's made it very clear. Sal's making it very clear he's taking Joe to the end. He wants us next.
Yeah,
like
I think everyone has at this point.
Yeah.
After this tribal cancel, everyone's like, I want to sit next to her. She doesn't care if she
Yeah.
wins or not by the looks of things. Let's talk about this tribal cancel, I guess, because I think that's what we're up to. This is what I was waiting for. I was waiting for this for so long. This is amazing. Josh and Joe just both threw out truth bombs. Just did not care. The jury were lapping it up. I want to watch it again because it was so good. I loved it so much. The backwards cap is on. I don't have a cap. I'm sorry. I've only got like an Akubra somewhere.
You're so bogan.
I'm so country. Yes, I did love the inner channeling of Michelle Dugan. What was your thoughts on this, like on this explosion of tribal? Because this, if tribals are like this all the time, that'd be boring. But like when they happen, they're golden. They're golden.
Yeah. I think. I mean, it's hard, right? Because I think obviously you have to expose them because they have no other no other play at this point. But then I almost wonder, like, even though what Josh was saying was very, very true, and obviously the jury lapped it up, you're performing in front of the jury, right? But in terms of getting the outcome you want, I almost kind of wonder when you're like literally like machine gun spraying insults at all of them, like, do you not just then like unite them even like more against you because they're like, who are you to say we're playing a bad game, we're goats, and no, we've been playing well, which they have, don't you dare say this to me. So I feel like it unites the four of them even more, even though what he was saying was true. I think it's just like I think it was really entertaining, and like I'm all for the popcorn moments, and I'm sure the jury is too. But I'm not sure how effective it could ever have been.
Yeah, I just love how Joe went about this tribal and how she conducted herself, because she could have really screwed up her game a lot more than what she just did. Like, she could have just said, I want Kiara to, because she said multiple times in her confessional she just wants Kiara to win. She would love to see Kiara win, right?
And I think she would be. I think she genuinely would be happy for Kiara to win, and I think that just shows what a good game Kiara's play. It's kind of like in Token Teens when everyone was like genuinely happy for JT to win. Like, they'd be happy to lose, like sink their games so JT wins, and like at least so far that sounds like what's happening with Kiara. Which I think, A+ social game.
It is, and like Joe's that caught in the social game that she would literally lose for her, and I just want to say fight, and that's what we saw from Joe. We saw her go back at them from saying that she was doing nothing in the game, and Joe was like, "Well, if you're in my position, what would you do?" And this is when Kiara said, what is a big move? Is it a big move, or is it just a move? And this is everything in this tribal. Everyone made sense, and that's a weird thing. What everyone was saying was making sense.
Yeah, there could be multiple truths that are simultaneously happening. Like, from the Reds' perspective, like what they're saying is true, right? Like, some people are on the top of the Yellow Alliance and have win equity, and some people don't. But from what the Yellow is saying is, they're in a really good spot, and to flip now would just ruin it. And I think the thing is, I know Josh is saying, make a big move. You need something on your resume. But if Joe flips, that's not even her move. That's Josh's move, convincing her to flip. So I think either way, she's not in a good spot. I guess from her perspective, right? If she considers her best friend, number one ally in the game, winning as a win for her as well, then it makes sense that that's the narrative she goes with, right?
Exactly. Meanwhile, Sal's just chilling at this tribal. Doesn't say anything, just letting it all happen in front of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to see. We do have Marty in the background, so let's put him on, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, how you going, JP?
Good.
Vince, you're back. Where you been, man?
Racist, Marty.
I reckon, JP, I reckon you should jumble up with the frames and they won't know who the real Vince is.
You should put you should put Marty in the middle anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. What if I can change your name? No, I can't. Okay.
No.
Can I change my name?
Oh, wait.
You can, yeah.
Where?
Do I have to leave and come back? Do you want me to do that?
Oh no, I could do it actually. There you go.
Yeah.
Where is Vince these days?
Exactly. Well, I mean, have you heard from him? He's surely said something.
He only just got back to Australia.
Oh, okay.
He got back like a day ago.
He's going to be away for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I thought that too. Apparently, he was gone for like 5.
Maybe got COVID.
Well, just jealous of Vince and his European holiday.
I think everyone was. Did you see all of? Anyway, there's so many photos on him on Instagram, and anyway, I was very jealous. He went like literally every country nearly. Good for Vince. Good for Vince. Matt.
Yeah.
Good to see you. You did lie to everyone in the community.
Not everyone.
Well,
no.
Did you lie though? Like,
did I lie?
Nobody asked you if you played. Nobody asked if you played.
I did twist it a little bit. Like I said, I went over there to crew and everything like that, and I had good alibis. But yeah, I don't remember specifics, but I'm sure I did like outright lie to a fair few people.
He's good at the game.
Are you sorry for lying?
I am not sorry for lying.
Okay, that's all right. So obviously you're. Yep.
Hey, sorry. You seem the most offended when it came out that I played. You messaged me. You said, I think it was just like you motherfucker or something like that.
I was offended because I thought we were going to get played together one day, and then you've been building up this storyline. I'm like, oh, we'll play together one day. We'll play together, and then never happened.
Like drunk. We've played two games in Drunk Fiver. We're never really never on the same tribe. But yeah.
No, yeah, never happened.
It can still happen, JP. It can still happen.
Day.
We both need to push to be on a returnee season of Backyard. So.
Yeah, well, I haven't been on a season of Backyard, so one day when that happens, yeah, it will happen one day. I'm sure. Are you drinking a red for Birac?
Yeah, I've got Birac juice. Yeah.
Or is it the blood of your victims?
How many victims did I actually have? I don't know. No, it's just Birac juice. It's just a tribute.
Yeah. So I want to talk about can I talk about the first tribal council?
Yeah, sure, go on.
So Holly.
I love Holly.
What happened? Why Holly? Because we haven't spoken to anybody from Red since.
I think it's pretty clear in the edit that I did not want Holly to go. I was excited. I was genuinely excited to see her, and we like she said, we just came together and were vibing. And when it came down to we lost that first challenge, I was like, okay, well, Ken's there. I had a connection with everyone else basically, and then when I went out to see what everyone was thinking and try to get Ken's name out, everyone was just like, I'd be like, oh, so Ken, and then everyone's like, Holly though, and I was like, oh, okay, and I just couldn't dig in too much to then put me offside with the tidal wave that was against Holly, so had to go with that wave.
So what I'm hearing, Marty, is that you're saying you're the hero of this movie. You're the one trying to, save Holly from drowning, and it's the big evil Josh, Michael, and Rachel who's like tsunami just crashing down on poor Holly. Like it's really throwing them under the bus.
That's what I said. Did I stutter?
It's weird though because the edit sort of like makes you look like
for me. Sorry, JP. For me,
Yeah.
like it was like emotionally tied to Holly. But I think logically she wasn't. She was socially making the least amount of connections in that starting Burak group. Unfortunately for her, and so logically, like I understood, and yeah, you can't win them all.
Did you not at any point like think like bad, like did you not think about like the viewers point of view, like at this point, like just watching that like savagery?
Of course. I mean, I think it's so one thing that couldn't have been put in the edit, obviously, was my confessional before Tribal, where I'm just like, I feel fucking terrible. I'm gonna have to put Holly's name down. And that would have made the vote too obvious. But I feel like there's other shots in there where you can see that I'm not like, there's nothing gleeful about it for me. And I don't think it was gleeful for anybody. Like there's shots where you can see some of the other members of the tribe who are like got smiles on their face, but it's like a nervous kind of awkward kind of fill this gap, awkwardness and nervousness with smiles and maybe a little giggle. That's what it is. No one was gleeful about Francesca Holly.
Yeah, I don't think any viewer was either.
You're both smiling and laughing right now. So what's so funny about that? Oh, you Holly haters.
It's not funny. No, it's not funny. It's just I don't know why I'm laughing.
Look, Survivor, baby.
It's just painful.
I think like as sad as it was, I think it led to like really powerful character moments. Like I think like that scene of Brian crying like really gets me like every time. And I think like, sorry, you go, Matt.
No, in a way, it kind of makes. No, even Josh, like he was in self-preservation mode. He felt like he was in self-preservation mode. What was I going to say? Where were we going with that, Johnny?
I think I was just about to say that, like, I think, like, from a narrative point of view, I really love how, like, each of the three returnees had, like, really different storylines. So you had, obviously, Holly, like, the pain of Holly getting Francesca. You had, David trying to learn from his mistakes, but not learning from his mistakes and getting out just for the nerve.
That middle game, and we're seeing Kiara enter Endgame.
Yeah, and then Kiara, like, just like 100%, like, learn everything she needs to do to learn from her mistakes, and it's just running the show. And like, I think if she wins, like, Backyard Survivor Redemption, I think it's just such a beautiful, beautiful.
Completely vindicated. Completely, it's very, very poetic. It's not going to like comfort Holly at all, but it almost kind of makes her more iconic.
Yeah, she's a martyr. She got martyred. Like Marty martyred Holly, and by sacrificing her again, she now kind of like becomes a legend.
I know. No, I agree. I agree.
One thing I wanted to actually ask, like, just going back a bit, was so you get the call at like 10 o'clock the night before.
8:30, I think. Yeah.
8:30. What's
maybe 2:30?
I mean, we saw like the phone call and like the 30 seconds of like fuck. But what happened after that? Like, what's going through your head? Like, are you now having to think about what your strategy is going to be, what you're going to do, how you're going to approach the game? Like,
I mean, yeah, I should have been, but it was just like nuclear in my head. Like, if there was someone filming me as I was on that phone call, like I'm skipping out into the middle of the street, just going like, just like dancing around like a madman while I'm swearing into my phone. That's really what I remember from that moment. And afterwards, when I hung up, I was like, oh shit, okay, so what do I need to bring for the game? So the only thing I really remember is going out and trying to buy a few basic supplies. Like I wanted to try and find a water bottle because I did have this water bottle, but in the player info that Brian sent me after the phone call was no water bottles, no metal water bottles, because they make a terrible noise on camera. Now it actually makes an appearance come merge because we're allowed to go back to our bags that night. And I was just like, oh no, fuck this! I'm sick of like one sip bottle, but that starts making an appearance. But I went out into Perth and then realized that Perth closes at about 9 p.m. Like the closest servo was.
It's a country town, right?
It was closed at 9. I was like, what? Do people stop driving in Perth at 9 o'clock? How do people? I couldn't find anything. So I went on a pretty long walk trying to find some stuff. And I don't know. I didn't get much sleep that night, obviously. And yeah, it was just nuclear. It was very chaotic in my head. I didn't really I don't remember thinking about strategy. Like there's a lot of things I don't remember about the whole weekend, but then I watched the edit and I'm talking about things that I don't remember. So maybe I was considering the game, but I don't know. I can't really tell you.
So you get the phone call, you get there in the morning, you do your Meet the Cast video that morning, I'm assuming?
No, I mean, I didn't have one. So we all went to do the same confessional. We got asked the same questions. And those confessionals appeared during our very long walk-in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's open until 4 a.m. in the morning, right, Kyle?
Sorry.
In season 2, it was open until 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, at least I think there was like birds chirping at the end of season 2 in Final Tribal. But yeah, like I have since learned that back this season was not scheduled to go into either nights, but both nights went to about 11 p.m. I think. And wow. Again, that's Survivor, baby. But yeah, Backyard Survivor definitely provides nightlife for Perth.
So you've done the challenge, you voted out Holly, you get to the next challenge, you lose again. Did you think you were going to end up like one of the blue tribes, I guess, in normal Survivor, in American Survivor? Did you think you were going to just be...
you know what? Even though we had only lost 2 in a row, it felt like we lost like, 10 in a row somehow. It just felt like you would just keep on losing and losing, but it was just 2 in a row. So yeah, it did feel a little bit like that. But at that stage, I did. It sucked because we did want to obviously keep together. We didn't want to go to tribal, but it was fairly obvious it was going to be Ken, so there wasn't too much stress about it. Yeah, and I'm not sure there's much more that can be said about that.
Yeah, so it looked like a pretty straightforward.
Was it an instant like us 4 we're like the final 4 of the red? Like, was it really apparent in the first like hour or so of the game?
Again, it's hard to pinpoint, and like you can go back through your memories and think, oh yeah, it was like an instant connection of us 4, but realistically, it probably took a little bit more time than that to come together. By Ken's vote, we did definitely, it was solidified, and it really it did grow from there. Like once we won that next challenge, we like just waffled on amongst each other and just had like a super fan chat. And that really strengthened our connection with each other. And also just like lose, win is just that's just naturally just going to bring people together. and yeah, things kind of worked out for us from then on to into merge, and it was like a lot of people. Slight segue, but like I'm now part of like casting for other LRGs, and I keep hearing people talk about how you ask them, are you going to be loyal or whatever, and they say no, I'm going to be cutthroat. Like I'm not. There's not enough time to make connections, real connections with people in such a short time frame. But I think some of us who have been part of these LRGs on the ground, we know different. Like we've seen tiers in multiple LRGs. People have. It's very interesting how quickly and strongly connections can be made, and I've experienced that now, or I actually experienced that before I saw any of the others when I crewed for them. And like this Birak 4 to ride, to be on like the bottom, be underdogs from the beginning of the game, and to ride to fairly deep into the game together has forged a really strong connection, not just inside the game, but outside the game. Like I can't remember how quickly after the game Birak 4 chat popped up, group chat popped up, but it was very, very soon after, and we still talk every day, pretty much every day. You know, the big gaps here and there. After out of this airing of this season, we'd any Survivor season that goes on, after every episode, we have a debrief in our chat. And like when I managed to fly over there for the mid-season watch party for episode 6, of course I hooked up with Birak 4. We had lunch together. We had a very cute walk over to Tiles for the watch party together, and then we took like multiple photos together. It was it's very real, and it's like how was that forged and born out of just like whatever, like less than 48 hours. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had a very intense, familial connection through your, I guess, shared trauma experience of like sucking challenges. But calling it how it is. Yeah, but what I was going to ask was, so what was like the hierarchy in that 4? Because it sounds like Rachel thought you were her number 1. Was it mutual? Who were you least close to in that Birak 4?
Yeah, absolutely. Me and Rach, I think correctly saw each other as each other's number 1, and then there was Josh and Michael who felt closest to each other. I think since the season, we've decided that Rach was either she was my number 1, but Josh and Michael's number 2. So that puts her at the top of the hierarchy. I probably felt least connected at the start to Josh, and he would say the same with me. So that's where that pretty much explains all the dynamics, I think. Yeah. But that's not saying don't love Josh. He knows I love him.
So in that split tribe, the 4 yellows got stuck with Michael. Michael wins immunity, and then the 4 yellows have to turn on each other. They vote out Abby. If you flip it, if it was 4 reds and a yellow, and the yellow wins immunity, and the 4 reds have to turn on each other, who goes home?
Very interesting. Like, because we have discussed who goes home if we went back to tribal for a 3rd time in a row to start the game, and it's a little bit contentious. Some of us there's arguments to be made that all of us but Rachel go that tribal. But I lean towards it might have been Josh. Rachel leans towards it might have been Michael because she was putting his name out. So it would have been very interesting. And like then there's arguments to be made that because Michael and Josh felt closest together, that it might have been me. So I don't know.
We probably would have seen a split.
Would you guys have gone for Rox in a like 2-2 split?
I don't think so. It would have been. I don't think so. But that, I don't know, maybe a slight possibility.
So moving ahead, you get split up into the two tribes. So you're still staying on red, or did you move to yellow?
No, I was red the whole way.
Red the whole way.
Yeah.
So you end up going there with Michael, and teaming up with the three yellow that are still in the game, actually, Joe, Kiara, and Sal. How did that form? Is Kiara as good as what she looks like on TV?
Yes. Yeah.
Because she just looks like she picks up people like that and it's about later.
Me and Kiara, it's not in the edit, but me and Kiara definitely established our connection at the breakfast. We met, we vibed each other very clearly. And then once we swapped just before that the challenge match, before the charades challenge, I saw her come over, and I vividly remember she looked at me and said, "Come on, don't be a stranger," and just put out her arms. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to this warm embrace of Kiara." So yeah, like immediately she had her hooks into me. I think it was genuine. I don't think she was like trying to gameplay. She might have been like in a preseason interview, she wanted to be more proactive in making connections, but her genuine feelings are always going to guide those actions.
Do you think though that was she kind of doing that with the majority of players, so that she just had options everywhere?
Probably to an extent. You can ask her when she finally does her interview. I'd be interested in the answer to that question. I personally felt that she had a particular connection with me, not to say it was above certain others, but above probably most people. And I think there's kind of evidence of that there in some of her confessionals.
So do you think, like, I mean, I don't know if we're skipping ahead now, but like every time you kind of got to a point where like a vote where you're like, I need you, Kiara, and like time after time, like it didn't work out. Was she placating you like vote after vote, going like next time, or like were you hopeful that eventually Kiara would give you her love?
So when particularly in Merge, it was a case of you come to Merge. We'd only been in tribes of maximum of 7 up to that stage because of the swap tribes, and then it becomes 12, and it's just so much more than what we experienced up to that point. And it's very natural, and it makes sense that everyone wants to first talk to the people they've been playing with up to that point. So you get to your OG tribes, and you want to hear their thoughts, you want to provide your own thoughts. And then that talk time takes up a bit of time, and before you know it, there's not much more time left. And so it's a common theme in the LRGs where OG tribes kind of stick together for the most part, not all the time, but that's what happened here. And I just didn't get, if I had to say there was name one regret that I had of playing in my season, would be not coming together with Kiara more at Merge, and working with that connection more that was clearly established before Merge. Yeah. And I think she was obviously very open to that as well. But yeah, it was just hard with the OG tribes. And like, as an introvert for myself, with someone like Josh and Rach. Rach is a bit of an introvert herself, but like they're both very they think quicker than me, and they action quicker than me is the most important thing. So when they go with something, when there's not much time to consider something else or put forth something else, I tended to go along with it, and that ate into my time. Also, just like with spreading my wings, spreading my fingers in other people's pies. So it kind of I think if I could have worked with established a more working relationship with Kiara come merge, that is probably the one thing I would if we could replay, that I would want to do most.
Do you reckon she read it like, he's not working with me for this Jake vote, he's not working with me for this next vote, that sort of just made it not happen at all? Do you reckon if you voted with Kiara, maybe a Jake, potentially you may have had your foot in that door with Yellow?
Yeah, very, very possibly. I felt like after that point, the merge vote, it was still very possible. I think we had conversations, even on camera in the edit, where it shows we were like very open and respecting of each other's opinion and where the game was heading. But I think you can ask her when she gets interviewed, but I think she also felt the same as me, like go with this OG tribe wave, and it's hard to stop. There's not a lot of time. So
I actually think almost like the that split trial where the two yellows went home. I actually kind of wonder, like, although in the moment it was good for OG Birak, whether for your long-term prospects of being able to work with the yellows, it just kind of like make it matter back to like, OG yellow versus OG red. Like, because if you imagine, like, if the 6 OG yellows had gone 3-3, had majority of both tries, voted out 2 reds, it's now 6-2. I kind of wonder whether now the yellows kind of start looking at each other more, like especially people like Abby or maybe Matt B, like especially if Rachel's still in the game. Like, I kind of wonder whether they might try to use the 2 reds to make a move, but because it became 4-4, it was still very much yellow, red.
Yeah, it was very threatening. It's that it could have played out that way, but like that kind of like intentional Matt Singh theory. But it's very hard to implement and like just take that risk at the time in the moment. Maybe with more time, maybe, but I don't know. I'm like I don't know. I don't know if I could. I do, as much as like I like to think I can play logically. I do. There's always an emotional attachment to my fam, which was the Birak 4. So I don't know. I can't really say. Just reading this chat, and Rachel, I'm hogging Rachel's time right now. The Queen of Birak needs to appear very soon, so I'm just going to say that Backyard Survivor was like a real dream of mine. It was probably the best weekend of my life. It was wholly fulfilling. Disappointing I didn't win, of course, but now it doesn't seem like it matters. And I'm just so glad to be part of it. I nearly couldn't have been over there to start with. I got into that open window with the borders with like 5 days, grace period, and I was just very lucky to be part of it. I am so keen to be back over there for next season to crew for real. I'd love to be on that side of the camera within Backyard Survivor universe. The community is so great over there, and I'm really keen. And the community is fostered. It's a trickle down effect. It starts with Kyle and Brian, and they. It's just so obvious, even while watching the show. You don't need to be there. It's so obvious what they have fostered and what they have created, and what they have made, what I believe is possibly the best LRG in the world. And yeah, that's just something I wanted to say while I was on here.
Yeah, I think you can really tell that they have a lot of love and passion for the game, and then it comes out on the screen, comes out through the product, and it comes out through the effect they have on the overall Backyard Survivor community and I guess the passion that the crew have because they're doing it for Carl and Brian.
Yeah.
The passion is just runs through.
It's going to be hard for them to ever stop because I don't think anybody ever wants them to. Like they're stuck in this forever. Bad luck.
Yeah. We'll see where that where that ends if it ends.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Marty, for coming on.
Thank you so much, guys. It's
Okay.
it's been really fun. And
we'll bring Rachel on. All right. Thanks. Bye. Hello, Rachel.
Hi. I thought Matt would never end. Just kept
It's the wine.
It's the wine talking. I love it. Love Matt. So good to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
How was your experience wrapped up in a short paragraph? Yeah.
Oh, in a short, it was a lot more meaningful than I thought I was getting myself into. I think I came in just thinking, look, it's going to be fun. I'm super competitive. And I knew Brian and Carl before, so I thought it's just going to be such a fun weekend. And I've watched a bit of Survivor. I remember watching US Survivor when I was growing up. And then watched Australian Survivor. So I kind of knew, but I never really expected to get so into Survivor after playing Backyard Survivor. Yeah. So I think it's just been a really meaningful experience just playing Backyard Survivor. I even contacted Brian and Carl after Backyard Survivor. I was like, hey, I'm having my hens party. Can you run a Survivor themed bachelorette party? And they did, and it was so good.
That's awesome.
So it's just had such a fun effect, and it's been awesome.
So your experience prior to Backyard was you won a Survivor themed birthday party that Carl and Brian ran, is that right?
Yeah. So Brian and Carl, they ran a birthday party for a friend of mine, and it was just meant to be a fun day in the sun. And I just, classic me, went super competitive, went all out, and ruined my friend's birthday and just took over. And then afterwards, Brian and Carl come up to me and go, you should apply for season 4. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'll think about it. So that's how I knew them. I met them through a mutual friend at this birthday party. And so, after that, it was really awesome. So just so glad that all lined up really well.
So was it much easier cutting the throats of all your friends at that party than the people in the game?
You'll have to ask Brian and Carl, but the birthday parties work in a different way, whereas you every time you win a challenge, you get points, and then you're climbing a leaderboard, and then it's at the top. So I never actually had to cut anyone. So I never got to sort of unleash that side of me until I came onto Backyard Survivor. So it was so awesome. I know that Brian and Carl have run different ones as well, where they'll host parties where you can vote people out. I think that might be a little bit too much for my my friend group. But so awesome. And I just never I think when I had applied for Backyard Survivor, I'd watched a couple of seasons of Australian Survivor. But I remember watching US Survivor as a kid. I remember Boston Rob and Amber and, all those really iconic characters from years ago. But I actually had not watched a full season from start to finish. So I remember there's times in the show where, Josh and Matt and Michael are spouting out all these names and they're like, we could be like the I-24. And I'm like, And so that was it. Cook Islands was literally the first season that I watched after Backyard Survivor, because they were like, you have to watch it. This, this alliance of 4 were the underdogs, and they just went all the way to the end. And I think we all got
the Asians came out on top.
But that's what we would do. We were the absolute underdogs, and the 4 of us would just ride it all to the end. But no.
It was all down to the rock, though, really. If the rock was blue in Joe's hand or in Val's hand, I reckon
if that rock had gone definitely that, so many sliding doors moments where, if Michael had the extra vote at merge, we would have come in with a numbers advantage. If Michael's never going to live the advantage down. If Matt B had flipped with me, just so many things that would have given the Barack Force such a that underdog story that we really wanted at the very end.
So speaking of people you voted out, Holly was one. For some reason, I always like to talk about this because she's played twice now, and you friend tested her.
Look, I don't know if there's much more that I can say. I feel like Matt covered it all when he was on.
No, but he said he came back and you guys were just clear on Holly. Why not Ken at that point?
I think, look, the game moves so quick and we just had no time. You've got to be really intentional in who you talk to and how you talk to people. First impressions mean so much and we'd only known each other for half an hour. And unfortunately, I just don't think Holly made the best first impression on us. And I think in those early votes, as long as it's not you, you don't really care. So sorry if that's the truth, but that's kind of what it came down to.
I mean, it sounds like, according to Matt, that in the early votes, you were everyone's number one and number two. Did you feel were you aware that you were the queen of Barack?
I clicked really early on with Matt at breakfast. I remember talking to him for quite a long time, and he was really honest about how much he loved not only Survivor but Backyard Survivor. And I was like, this guy is quite a hardcore fan, and he's not even trying to hide it from me. Maybe I should work with him. So when we got picked to be on the same tribe, I knew okay, I wanted to play this game with someone that was going to be my ride or die, and just someone that I could fully trust all the way and not worry about them flipping on me. And I picked that in Matt really early on, and I think he did the same with me. And then I think no one else really kind of knew how close we were until it got down to when there was four of us, and I didn't really realize that Josh and Michael were as close as they were, and I think they didn't realize the same. So it just really lucky that Matt and I actually did end up on the same tribe. I don't know if we weren't on the same tribe from the get-go, maybe that connection would never have really developed. So Matt and I were just solid to the end, which is awesome.
Yeah. So moving along, you get swapped over to tribes with Josh in the new yellow tribe, I believe. In that tribe, you end up finding yourself making connections with Matt B and Fu. How did they come around? How did that? Because we don't see this. We don't see as much as we want to, and I sort of want to know how they came to fruition, I guess.
Yeah, I guess one step back, the decision on how Barack decided to swap. I remember Matt and I went and grabbed the buffs, and I'd said to him, we need to separate so that, because I trust you and I want you to go and make connections on your swap tribe. I'll make connections on my swap. We'll come back to the merge and we'll go all the way to the end. That was the grand plan, which is how then Josh and I ended up together. Michael and Matt, and it just the pairings of that worked out really well. So I think coming into swap, Josh and I were just ready to make as many connections as we possibly could. With Fu, it was never captured on camera, but I think it was the second challenge where Fu and I were on the puzzle together. I always said never go on the puzzle in Survivor because if you're trying to losers, the people on the puzzle just always get blamed and get voted out. But Fu was like, let's do the puzzle together. And it gave us a really good, solid opportunity to talk strategy. Of course, there were no cameras around because everyone was filming other parts of the challenge, but that's where Fu and I really hashed out so much stuff and covered a lot of ground. And then likewise with Matt B, I think my chat with him just never got captured on camera, but we just worked out really early on that we wanted to work together and come merge. We were kind of being like each other's spies where I'd said, if I ever hear your name come up, I'll come straight to you and let you know, and I'll just keep the votes off you. Same with him. He was just willing to keep the votes off me as well. But that's kind of the extent of how far that alliance with Matt B went. And I kind of wish it went that bit further in getting him to flip and come with us, because I think that could have really changed the game. And even listening to Matt in his exit interview, he was so keen to, he regrets not having flipped with us and voting Abby out. I just don't know if he knew that Abby was really gunning for him. So that was really, really unfortunate.
Yeah, it did feel like a big like season-long tease that like it was just like, I've got Matt B, he'll flip for flip, and he just never did.
I'm pretty good.
I mean, did he ever like promise that, like, or at least give you the sense that he would turn on his yellows to vote with you, or was it more just like, I will make sure you're the last of the reds to go?
He made a final 3 promise to Josh and I. Obviously, I believed it because I was working with him, but Josh was like, I don't trust this guy, like, he's lying to me again. And I think somehow, like Matt, I think because there were a lot of rumors being spread around him that people just didn't trust him, so that it just made it really difficult for then my alliance to trust me when I'm saying, oh, I'm working with Matt B, because there was already so much doubt around him.
Was that just the Idol and Abby throwing Matt B under the bus, or was there more to that, or people not trusting him?
I think so. I really don't know, because I think Matt is such an awesome guy. But I don't know. I don't know why people got the wrong impression of him. You know, I think he's one of the Ruperts and the Toms of Survivor, like such a loyal hero. Will never lie to anyone. Like, you love those kind of characters. So I love Matt B.
That final 3 deal he made with you and Josh, that's the only final 3 deal he actually made in the whole game. So he was actually, it seemed like he was quite sincere.
Serious, I really do think he was being serious. Because, you know, we worked really well on that swap tribe together. And from having watched, you know, the episodes back now, it kind of looks like no one else on Yellow was making those sorts of connections with him either. So it made sense for him to pitch himself as final 3 with us. So I
mean, on the flip side, would you have gone to the end with Matt B?
I would have rather had Matt B on the jury, because I know he would have voted for me. I think I knew that even if I voted Matt B out, and you know, I did have to vote him out, I was fairly confident that if I made it to the final 3, he'd still vote for me.
I mean, what was the rationale, you know, at the Matt B vote up when it was between Sal and Matt? Like, obviously there was some idle suspicion on Sal, so you're like, oh, maybe it's safer to go for Matt. But if there were no idols in play, it sounded like anyway that Josh and Matt C were leaning towards voting out Matt B over Sal. Is that, would you say that's true?
I really feel like the only reason why it didn't go on Sal was because Sal had got the clue to the idol at the breakfast before. That was very public, and everyone saw that. Everyone knew that he had a clue to an idol, and we just couldn't risk the vote bouncing back onto one of us. So, look, I think if Sal had, if we didn't know that Sal had bought the clue to the idol, then probably we would have put the votes on Sal, and then it would have bounced back. So I don't know, like, it's that sucked, that vote, because I knew I had potential in my alliance with Matt B to go so much further, and I knew that none of the other Barat boys had that edge as well, and I knew that was something that could have got me much further in the game, and it just never eventuated, unfortunately.
It was one of those things where, like, short term, like, for that one vote, it was good for the Reds, but not good for you in your long term game.
Yeah, and that double tribal was not good for Josh and I in particular, because Matt B went home and Abby went home, and those were the 2 yellows that we had connections with. The other 3 we really didn't. We were sort of at
still in the game.
We really had not. We didn't have a very good connection with them, so that was it was good for us short term, but long term actually wasn't really good for us.
Lost your options.
Because all your everyone went back to back for you. You lost Fu, then you lost Matt B, you lost Abby, then you lost Michael, and then you lost Matt. and then you finally went out. Like all your
Yeah.
lines just went boom,
It's
boom,
very
boom,
sad.
boom, 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 boom.
Oh,
You
it was
just had-
just like, and I think that's what really motivated me in my in that final pitch to get Val to flip was that, you know, this the way that players are getting eliminated is really predictable, and this is, I don't see where your strategic gameplay is. Obviously it's a strategy to vote out the people that are not in your alliance, but you know, having watched Survivor, it was like, this is not what viewers want to see. Viewers want, you know, people flipping and backstabbing, and you know, you want the good stuff. That's what you came to watch Survivor for. You don't want this you know, predictable vote
Yeah.
out them, you know, and so that's what I was, I guess, trying to pitch was that, you know, there's the time, make your move. Because at that point in the game, Val had obviously come back from redemption, but in our minds hadn't made any moves for herself. And my
Yeah.
pitch to her was, you haven't made anything that is worthy of going on your Survivor resume. Now's your time. Here's the opportunity on a silver platter. Obviously, it works for me.
Yeah.
You should take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think
Yeah, and I
sometimes
don't know if you
people
saw in the
may
voting
take?
confessions today, but Val was so close to flipping. We almost had her. It was really, really close.
Do you think sometimes people maybe see that as, I don't know, not rude, but just trying to think of the word, like, you should vote this way because you need to do something. Like, it comes across sort of passive aggressive.
Yeah. I would just say it's
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say it's passive. Yeah. Oh, look, and like my back was against the wall.
Yeah.
And I think it was, you know, if Josh winning immunity was my absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah.
It was.
If I think if one of the other yellows had won, like who knows what would have happened. But it was we were kind of at Val's liberty mercy as to, you know, who we voted next, and she was the one that suggested vote Joe.
Yeah.
So that's who we went with.
I mean, it's interesting because Joe at that tribal said, you're only saying this because you're on the bottom. If you were in our positions, you'd do that boring move. So if it was Birak 4 plus 2 yellows, would you have turned on Birak 4 to make it interesting?
I actually think I said in one of my confessionals, look, if I was in their position, I would probably not flip.
Yeah.
But I think I remember my mindset at that point in the game was it wasn't even about who I wanted to sit next to. It was about who I wanted to put on the jury. And I was like, I was counting votes in my head, and I was like, I've got Foo's vote. I've got Matt B's vote. You know, Michael had been rocked off. I've got Michael's vote. Matt's gone. I've got Matt. You know, I was doing the math, and I was like, I think I've got the numbers to win this. But, you know, Josh
So you weren't sad when your allies were falling round after round after round.
And I was like, I could do this. Obviously, not thinking I've got no one to even make a move with because they're all sitting on the jury. You know, that just never crossed my mind. I was just so fixated on, you know, how am I going to win this?
Like not voting out anyone, I guess, in the merge. But yeah, you didn't vote out anybody during the merge besides Matt B. So yeah,
all the votes we lost out in the majority. So yeah, we just didn't have the numbers to come through. So which was a shame. And
What was
you can't do much about it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
What was the reception you got when you went to Ponderosa? Because it sounds like all your allies were on the jury. Were they like devastated?
They were spewing. But we had such a good time at Ponderosa. It was just non-stop talking and debriefing. And I think, obviously, I put up a bit of a show on my last tribal. You know, I left nothing unsaid. And I could see that they were loving it. And you know what? It probably actually did damage. If I had stayed and not gone home, I probably did more damage to my game because, you know, I brought out the lawyer. I was, you know, throwing my arguments and giving my best case. You know, vote this way, and you know, it probably showed my hand a bit too early that, you know, I was ready to go down with a fight, and but they loved it. I think every other tribal had been quite predictable, and it was really clear who was going home. So, I put on a show, and I think they loved it. They were happy to see something a little bit different. The outcome was still, I think, what everyone was expecting, though. So, and that's actually another thing I was meaning to say. I have to talk about on my exit interview, because I've been getting a hard time about why people ask me why I lied about my job, and I think watching Fiona get voted out first from the Blue Tribe is a perfect example of why I knew I couldn't come on and say that I'm a lawyer, because you don't have much time to make, good first impressions. And I think I remember Fu being like, well, she's a lawyer, she must be strategic, so let's vote her out because of that. So I just didn't want any unnecessary threats to be put on my back that I had no control over. So the reason in saying that I was a journalism student is because I have actually studied journalism, and I thought it would be a really easy white lie to make up and carry on throughout the day. But obviously Abby just caught me off guard, and made me put a journalism voice on, when my main focus was print journalism, Abby, not TV. So she really put me on the spot there. But I think everyone forgot it within an hour.
Yeah, it's hard to get through these games when people have like this set mindset on you straight away. Like if you go into a game and there's like a lawyer, a police officer, that's what they think of you as. So yeah, it does make sense in your step. Not like Stephen last season, who lied that he was a gardener when he was. I can't remember what he originally was. I don't know what his actual job is, but he lied that he was a gardener.
Biomed something smart.
Yeah, like a student, biomed student or something. Like it doesn't make what's that got to do with Survivor? Like yeah. I don't get why people lie when they don't have to. It doesn't make any sense, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Yeah. Science man. There you go. He's a science man.
There you go, science man.
They're all saying science man. Okay. Yeah.
Very strong.
Well, thank you for coming on, Rachel. I don't know if there's anything else we can discuss, because sounds like we've got most of your game done with. Do you have any other questions, John?
No, I think just like a trial, she's articulated all her game very well.
Yes.
Oh, thanks, guys. I had such a good time.
Okay.
I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. And, we filmed like 18 months ago in February last year. And, to still be thinking about moves and what would happen is just like, it was such an awesome experience. Brian and Carl worked themselves to the bone every season. And yeah, it was just awesome to watch them in their element, doing what they love doing. And even still, when I catch up with them, they're like, if you had voted this person at this tribal, this could, like, they still run the narratives just as much as we do. They love it so much. So, they're so awesome. So proud to be associated with Survivor.
That's okay. Thank you so much for coming on. We have one more segment left, John. So, we'll talk about that now. Did you want to? You can stay on, Rachel. It's okay. So we it's Kiss, Marry, Kill. It's what we usually do. So the kiss of the episode for me. So this is somebody I think had a great episode. And is looking like they're going to go further. I actually think Joe deserves some credit here, even though she held her own at that tribal council, I think, against Rachel, and really showed that she understood what was happening, because I think a lot of people didn't see that. Yeah, so that's my kiss of the episode. How about you?
I was initially thinking Josh for winning, I guess, immunity when he had to, but I think just as we discussed, I think he made a suboptimal move to take Rachel to the reward, and I think that screwed her over. So I think I'm going to give to Sal. I think for convincing Val to not flip, because I think that put him in an amazing like end game position, because he now has the out of 5. Like, if Josh wins immunity, he still has a shield around. Like, I think that he just has like more options going forward. So I think like, and especially because it sounds like Val's really close to him. Like, so Val's not going to vote for him. Like, he has someone he can bring along. Like I think it's just in a really good end game position now, because I thought he like was too exposed too early, but I think the way the circumstances have gone, he's in a like really good spot to make the final 3.
Yeah. We'll go to Mary. My Mary is going to Kiara. How can it not?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, she is phenomenal. She won another challenge. She now has the most immunity wins on the season with 2. She still has not had her name written down. She's in control of a majority alliance that has multiple different ways that she can go.
Yeah.
And she's at final 5.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean,
If she can't get voted out now, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard me wax lyrical about Kiara's game all podcasts. So like, I think she's hands down been playing the best game like the entire way. I just like, I don't know, like, and this is me reading edgy. Like, I just feel like for the last few episodes it's been too obvious that she's a winner. Like that. Like, I kind of wonder where Carl and Brian are kind of like setting her up to fail, because she's already talking about, I want to sit next to Joe and Bao the end. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And maybe that's like the winner edit of just her being like a mastermind. But I kind of worry she's gonna be like a Rob Goddess, and like Josh is gonna win immunity, and then Sal plays his idol, and she goes at final 5, or Sal wins final 4 immunity, and she goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
do you think though, like, because the season name,
Yeah.
do you think because the season name's Redemption though, that we're just getting her storyline? Like, it's Kiara's redemption. Like, that's a whole season. She is in the middle of the picture.
Val also has a redemption storyline too.
Who?
Yeah, I mean,
Val, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Kiara is in the middle of the picture. That is Kiara in there. I don't know why it's not showing it, but Kiara is in the middle. There's Kiara in the middle there.
Because Kiara designed the logo, so she probably put herself in the middle.
Of course. I think if Sal wins, I guess, and he's probably like, I guess, has the second most win equity after Kiara, I think it would be a really fun winners edit, because like there are a lot of moments when Sal's shown to be really chaotic and paranoid. Like at the merge when Holly was in the middle. At the merge when he's like going to Matt B, I need your idol, and he wasn't getting any votes, and like I think it'd be fun like having like a winner who was like way in his head, but also still managed to make the moves when he needed to make the moves to get to the end. So I think either of them would have really good stories.
Yeah. And the kill. So blindside, whatever. We're not going to say kill. I think that's a bit too harsh.
Well,
I think that
I was like, shoot. Who were you shooting in the episode?
Oh, okay. Well, let's shoot someone, I guess. But we'll go all out. I think Valentina missed a really big opportunity. However, I just don't see how it works for her.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't see how it works. If she could have convinced Sal to vote that way,
it was meant to work for her. It was meant to work for me.
Yeah. But then I also think Josh deserves it as well, because I feel like he took the wrong people to the reward.
Yeah.
So just for that reason alone, I'm just going to give it to Josh. Purely based on the fact he took the wrong people. I don't think anybody else really deserves it, but I feel like he did the wrong thing then. So that's why
I would have been I was already mad that Josh won it. I would have been more mad if he didn't pick me. But I get what you're saying. Like, it makes sense. Well, if we had separated at that point, we had no plan. So I could have been pitching one person, and then Josh could have been pitching the other person, and then we all come back, and it's like, oh crap, we've but that could have been a really fun tribal with different people getting but yeah, I think it was
this was really hard for me because I don't think anyone deserves it. Like, I don't think Matt or Rachel did anything bad in this episode. I mean, I feel bad saying for Josh because like I almost gave him the kiss. So if anything, I'm gonna give it to Carl and Brian for having a high tea without any tea. Come on, guys.
Without any reward, I think you mean, John.
Sorry.
A high tea reward without any advantage is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Yes. No tea, no advantage. Like, and the other three still got food, so it's like wasn't even a reward.
I know. What is this? Rob, I eagerly await their inside the urn because apparently they will address why there was no advantage at that reward. So,
yeah. I mean, I guess we'll find out next episode. But I kind of want to know whether Sal's like idol that he played got rehidden.
Yeah, I want to know that too. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we get 2 idol plays and an immunity in Final 5, and that's how we lose Kiara. If that happens.
Don't put that into the universe, Josh.
It's already happened. We can't change the result. Okay, I think that wraps up everything tonight. Thanks, John, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Rachel, again. Next week will be with Manali. I have no idea who's coming on. I don't know if Vince might be back. Maybe. I doubt it. I don't know. He's back in Australia, so he should be on, right? But yeah,
who are your,
if he's not on,
winner picks at this point in the game? Who are your winner picks?
My winner pick's Kiara, but a surprise would be like if Kiara doesn't make it to the final 3. I think Sal's got it any day of the week. Yeah.
John, who are your winner?
I want Kiara to win because I think narratively it'll just make the season. I don't know. Like, part of me, and I think this is like putting my Tara hat on. Part of me just thinks like it's been too obvious. Like, but maybe it's because she's been that good, and they couldn't edit it any other way other than to make it obvious.
Who do you want to win? Who do you want to win?
Oh yeah, I 100% want Kiara to win. Like 100%. Yeah, but like I have this like sneaking suspicion that it's like Sal like comes through with it, but I'm hoping it's Kiara. Sorry, Sal.
And if Josh wins, I mean,
oh yeah,
if that happens, he deserves it.
Josh.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, if that happens, that's on yellow because they shouldn't have let him win. Because as Rachel says, all your allies on the jury, like you've got the votes locked up.
Yeah. All right. I'll quickly answer this question by Amy. I really loved the first challenge of this season.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the challenge. So I assume Amy's asking from this season. I really like the first one because of like how many different segments there were. I'm trying to think of the other pre-merge ones. There was the string one with the blocks. Yeah.
Yes,
there was the charades. What else was there?
There was the one where they had to like use a fishing line where they had to make a
fishing
rod.
Yeah. Actually, like I found that really fun. Like just like and then like we had like Matt like crawl through and get like doused with all the water, and he's shivering for the rest of the episode like he's about to die. Even though it's like 39 degrees apparently. And it's 39 degrees, but Josh is
in the morning and at night. It's so cold. And then there was the eating challenge. Those were the pre-merge challenges.
Yeah. I think I liked
the
fishing line challenge because it was just a bit different and fun.
We've actually had an eating challenge every season, I think.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I kind of noticed? So Val won like 4 puzzles in a row to get back into the game. It gets just the merge, and everyone's like, "Oh, she's gonna be a challenge today." And then where are the puzzles? There's like no puzzles for Val.
I know.
However, the final 5 is a puzzle.
Oh, is it?
Puzzles?
Yeah. In the next episode, we see a puzzle. It looks like the tree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's
like
Val's time to shine.
Yeah, Val has to win this next challenge. I call it. It's gonna happen. All right, we better go. It is 5 to midnight here. So
thanks, Rach.
Definitely time to go to bed. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.